Well,
We're not on a
there's
radio station.
expectation.
We're not. We'll give it. We'll BS for a little while here. Hello, everybody out there coming on. We are getting ready to have the show. This is the pre-show show. Let me play the drum that I don't know how to play. Oh my God, these things are heavy.
Well, that's a real drum. It's not one of those.
Like mine that I let you play at the thing. I don't know how to drum right. I think there's some kind of thing to do or something.
There is a thing to do.
Well, most people think you just pick it up and.
No.
I know. I don't know how to do it.
There are tones.
Oh my God.
Tones.
There are tones.
Open tone.
Okay.
Bass tone.
Oh.
Slap shot.
Oh.
So.
Well, now I don't want to play because it sounds too difficult. Okay, here. Let me try. Okay, so what's it?
Open. That's bass.
Doesn't sound like a bass when I do it.
Open. Open. That's a little looser.
It's not working.
Because you're on the wrong angle. That's better.
Okay.
Bass. Oh, no. Bounce on it. Bounce. There, that was it. There you go.
Oh, okay. That's it. Sort of.
Now they're all leaving.
Okay, well, we're getting there. All right. So we are, is it time?
We're good.
Oh, we're got 1 minute or two. Okay, we just thought we'd
out.
we're 2 minutes out. We
Hi,
are almost, we are almost there. We are getting started. For those of you not watching on my Facebook,
Hi, Paul.
we got a new Buddha going on here. We try to change up. So we got a new Buddha man. Yep, new Buddha. And our dancing kitty is right here.
Oh, forgot all about the dancing kitty.
But we've already had the dancing kitty. So we'll start here in a minute or two on Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder.
You don't have a Buddha in your shot because you're using a different camera.
I know. I need to get that. I need to get a camera.
But if you want to see this the way I see it.
Yes, it's much better on YouTube.
On YouTube.
It's much better on YouTube.
Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder.
Yep. Much better picture, much better everything on YouTube. So if you're watching it on mine, go to YouTube. Much better. Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. Ken's showing off because he knows how to play the drum and I don't. You know, it looks so easy and it's just really not. So I just do the dancing. I dance around.
Oh. But, you could do this one, but it's too late.
Oh, I could do that one. Oh, I want to take this one to the drum circle.
No, feel free. Have at it.
This one's awesome. I can do this one or the Tamarine. Okay, cool. I like that.
All right. Yeah. Let's see.
Awesome blossom. No, look at people there. Hey, y'all. How we doing? Okay, so it is time. We are live on the air with Ken Goldberg, Law and Disorder, with me, AJ, Amy Jo Kroll, as the co-host. Woo! Ken is an attorney in 3 different states, which I know some of you who have watched the show are still as amazed as the rest of us. But yeah, so, and he tends to be on the liberal side. Mm-hmm. Yep. Even more liberal than me, which I didn't know was possible, but it's true.
I think you're a little too uptight, conservative.
I am not conservative. I'm not.
No, you are in some ways.
In some ways, I am. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely correct. Are you surprised by this, Ken?
Yeah, I was.
Really? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, that's the topic we discussed is you were supposed to research this.
Yes, and I haven't. Can't find anything. And then I sent it to my son.
So you have nothing.
So I sent it to my son for him to research. So I think he's going to be researching it, but I'm still looking. So I'll get back with you on that.
The topic we're talking about, by the way, is legalization and liberalization of access to drugs, and whether the legalization will cause more addiction or not.
No, I'm for legalization of marijuana. I get that.
But
everything.
But
Ken wants to legalize everything. Heroin, meth, cocaine. He just wants you to be able to go to the drugstore and pick it up. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm not for that.
Save lives.
I am not for that.
So you're going to leave people continuing to use bathtub gin, where the gin was made in somebody's bathtub with all kinds of
Gin?
contaminants. People died.
You go to the
during
liquor store.
People died during Prohibition.
You go to the liquor
It
store.
was called bathtub gin.
I understand. That's how my ecstasy was made when I was in college.
They
were made in bathtubs.
People frequently were damaged.
Yes.
Permanently.
Well, people frequently who are using heroin, meth, and cocaine are damaged.
No, actually.
Anyway.
No, she doesn't know. She doesn't know.
Yes.
No, because actually.
You're telling me those meth people that I see and that I see sitting in AA meetings are permanently damaged?
Correct.
Oh, my God.
Correct.
No, disagree.
Well, you can disagree, but
they're permanently damaged.
No.
Their insides are damaged. They're tweaking sometimes. They can't hold down full-time jobs. Not all, but some.
The studies show the damage.
You know what? I think he makes this up. I think he just says the studies show. And it's not studies. I think he just makes it up. It's like if he wants somebody to believe him, they said, or the studies show.
Well, let's put it this way. All right, let's forget the studies.
Yes.
Okay. But I used to study pharmacology because I was a drug counselor.
Okay.
Okay. So back in those days,
yes,
I read the studies.
But there's other studies on the other side
the
too.
Deleterious effects.
Yes.
From addiction to substances like methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin. The primary deleterious effects, that means the ill effects, come from the lifestyle. So as I pointed out to you before, let's use heroin as an example. Hey, Malcolm. Hey, Paco. Hey, Kathy. Heroin users sharing needles is the primary association with disease and physical harm. The other deleterious effect comes from contaminants because the people that are using heroin don't know what's in it. A study of doctors who use opiates, shooting opiates, found that they did not have the same ill effects because they were using clean drugs and clean needles.
Gotcha. Well, I agree. That's better to have clean drugs and clean needles. Don't think you should.
They were able to maintain their addiction over a period of time without the physiological damage that others suffered. I did methamphetamine for a number of years, but I had a lot of money. So I had access to health care. Right. I didn't have to sit in the gutter smoking.
Okay, so maybe I think we might be saying something a little bit different. Okay, so my cocaine use caused permanent damage to me. Do you not believe that? Not mentally, physically. It does. I wasn't okay. Let me do. It's true.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
It's true. Just like methamphetamines and things are permanently damaging your organs and things like that.
Alcohol,
and they do not.
You know.
So does alcohol.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Alcohol is actually physiologically the most damaging of all the drugs that we have ever talked about.
Okay.
Physiologically, alcohol is the most toxic to the internal organs in the human body.
Is that why I had alcohol poisoning twice and had to be rushed to the hospital with the cocaine? I never OD'd.
Let me be very clear about this. Heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine do not have the toxic effects on internal organs that alcohol does.
Okay.
The ill effects, again, primarily originate out of lifestyle and overuse of anything, right?
Right.
Okay. So,
but I will. Okay. So
for people to have access to alcohol, for instance, and we could debate whether that should be legal or not, but let's assume it's going to remain legal.
Yes.
Okay. Then all I'm saying is people who are using other substances should have the same opportunity to destroy themselves and to not destroy themselves
following what you're saying.
At least knowing if they went to the pharmacy or wherever it is, they would go that what substance they're getting, because there would be some sort of quality control. There'd be taxation and regulation. So at least we're keeping them from.
I'm following what you're saying.
Negative
I know I'm being funny about it, but I do follow what you're saying. But I do want to share this with you. So I do have internal physical things that happen to my body from cocaine. My doctor, gynecologist, when I was in my 20s, or that's actually about 25, I was about a year sober, he asked me to be in a study for him because they found that women who had used cocaine for many period of years that their ovaries shrank. And that's what happened with me.
And,
So I was in that study to prove his theory.
well, that you raise another point. When
Mhm.
you can study things when they're legal much easier than you can study them when they're illegal.
Okay, well, I'm
So they
just sharing
had
with
you
you
in a
that
study,
study. So yeah.
but you understand that had
Mhm.
cocaine been legal, we might have known that
Wait,
15
right,
years
right, right.
earlier.
Well, it wouldn't have stopped me from using. Yeah.
There's another important point.
Yeah.
You can't legislate morality. You
Yeah.
have to scroll down to see what's
I'm
going
where
on.
hey, there's Mark. Mark
Okay?
says that he had a boss that he ran a $40 million construction site, and that he was a meth head, and that he was fairly fully functional. Yeah, and there are a lot of fully functional. I was a cocaine addict and was teaching, not teaching, and I was the head person for a mortgage company in the country. I was extremely highly functioning. It was when I got off that I had problems for months.
But that same tale of woe
Mhm.
follows every addicted
Right,
person,
I agree.
whatever the addiction.
Right,
So we shouldn't punish them by making the drug more of a problem.
right.
So by demonizing or criminalizing drugs, so now we're just putting people who maybe their only crime was trying to access their drug of choice. In other
Well,
words,
I get that.
so there's people who are not out stealing, although there are some who will steal for drugs, right? And we are criminalizing them.
I get it.
And
I'm following your point.
yeah, so I want to eliminate that.
I
And yes,
understand.
that's kind of a libertarian approach to the situation.
Yeah, I got the libertarian.
But
award
again,
winner,
I'm going to
didn't I?
cite studies because there was a think tank in Chicago. It was run by a liberal guy. There's not too many liberal think tanks,
Mhm.
and I wish I was younger and I had a memory.
Yeah.
But I do remember this. He was on the board of trade and he had a lot of money, and he started, and they did a study of primarily cocaine, the whole world of cocaine abuse.
Mhm.
And this would be in the 80s,
Mhm.
mid 80s. The amount of money that we were funneling into Colombia,
Mhm.
let's say $2 billion,
Sure.
whatever it was, we were funding the most organized narco terrorist
Sure.
cartel
I see
in
that.
the world.
That point's obvious. Yes.
Right.
Right.
United States.
Absolutely.
So
Well, and that's why the cartel's not happy with the situation with marijuana going legal, because we're funding them too.
Megan's likes your headphones, I think.
Oh, thank you, Megan. They don't flash anymore. I don't know what happened.
Well, they weren't flashed for me before they broke, and mine are gone. So
Ken
oh,
abuses them. I had to take them away from him.
So let me explain my shirt. I'm wearing it for the second week in a row. I wore it last week when I was here by myself.
It's from Mexico.
Camara, it says, and Camara was
I thought it was
a
Chimera.
beast. I think it's half griffin, half.
Looks that way.
The reason I'm wearing this shirt is I've been wearing different shirts lately that I took out of my drawer from 20 yeyears ago, actually 40 years ago. This is from the 70s.
Okay.
Camara was the first women's self-defense organization I was aware of.
Okay.
In the 70s, I used to teach women's self-defense with a small group of women.
Okay.
Back in Chicago. I was a martial artist.
Was this your way of meeting women?
No, actually, this one wasn't. A friend of mine, a lady friend of mine who had a boyfriend, she introduced me to this woman, Sue. And Sue asked me to help teach. She wanted a male to kind of throw around the room so that the students would know this will work on a male.
Okay.
So I was kind of a foil, but I was experienced.
I didn't know you were into S&M.
No, I wasn't. And I didn't like getting hurt, by the way, but I felt it served a purpose.
That did serve a purpose.
She wanted me to do the Michelin Man
yeah,
thing.
I would have done that.
There was a big costume.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't go for it.
Okay. Did you get hurt?
I got hurt a lot of times.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
people were twisting your wrist.
Well,
and-
why didn't you go into the costume then? That's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
well, the costume came along kind of later, but here's what happened in the interim. So a group of women, these women I knew, 2-3 women I knew, plus a larger group, not that big a group, they got together and brainstormed and decided to have a women's self-defense organization.
Okay.
So they
That's nice. I like
they
that.
set it up, and they came to me and just said, by the way, you're not in it. So I said, what's up? And they said, we decided, Camara, that was the name,
Okay.
at birth in Chicago, going to do women's self-defense, but it's women teaching women's self-defense.
Okay.
Sue said, but I want you to stay with me as an instructor.
Okay, good.
You can't be in Camara, but you can. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Right. So we continued to teach together. She was really the teacher. I was helping for a while. And then eventually they gave me the t-shirt.
Mhm.
And they also made an associate membership thing. So this was from the 70s.
Cool.
Camara probably
It's a
existed.
cool T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. So Camara probably, and I wore it last week. You weren't here,
Mhm.
and I got some compliments
Oh,
on the blue. Not
It
on-
does.
Yeah.
It does. The blue's a pretty
So-
color.
So
gotta
I
admit.
thought I meant to explain the T-shirt last week.
Mhm.
So we're doing it again next week.
This
I'm
is
going
a
to wear
pretty color
the
for the Cosmic Yogi T-shirts. Yeah.
yeah. Next week I'm going to wear the Goldberg family, my sisters and my nephews, nieces, everybody. We went to France once with my
Mhm.
mother, and we went down this barge, and my brother-in-law made up T-shirts for
Oh, that's cute
the
for the family.
dysfunctional family
I
tour.
love that. I
Okay.
love that.
So we'll try that one next
And by the
week.
way, Ken's 101-year-old mother is doing well, so she's hanging in there.
Yeah, she's gonna have
Mhm.
surgery next month, so I'll be
Good.
in Chicago for
101.
some
Can you
of that.
imagine if Ken was around for that much longer?
Could you imagine if I was around for 101 years, I'd be eating cat food for the last 20
No, oh, stop it.
because I wouldn't have the money. So
That's
so that
funny.
explains the shirt. And now Candace Gorman, I said we were going to talk about Candace.
Yes.
And I was filling in AJ before the show. If you go on to HLN, Headline News,
Yes.
that's a subsidiary
HLN.
of CNN.
Mm.
CNN was running a series called Death Row Stories up until recently. And for some reason, they shifted it to HLN,
Okay.
which is not as well watched.
Hmm.
But it's a really well done series.
Maybe they were trying to get more people to watch that.
Kind of depressing. But anyway, so Candace, a friend of mine, Candace Gorman.
Yeah,
is
now
a-
tell her how she's a friend of yours. Tell
So
everybody.
Candace Gorman, an attorney in Chicago, and I,
Mhm.
she's a couple years younger. So when she was young in Hyde Park, back in Chicago,
How
we-
young?
She was probably 16
There you go.
when I met her. I was probably 18,
Okay.
and Candace was she wasn't wild, but she was we weren't boyfriend girlfriend, but
Well,
she would do stuff. I'd be like, I'm going out clubbing tonight. I'm 18.
Right.
I'm going down to the south side.
yeah,
to
but I was
listen
going to clubs
some
at 15
jazz.
when it was
Um,
just 18 drinking age. They
Yeah.
wanted cute girls in the
No,
clubs.
they didn't want us.
Oh.
We were the only white people. there.
Oh.
They did not we were trouble. And so I would do things like, Candace, if I get drunk, you drive. But then I'd get drunk. I wouldn't let anybody drive.
Of
except
course.
me.
Yeah.
So anyways, then I started Locomotion, that youth organization, working with street kids. And she came to work for me as one of my first workers, going
Okay.
out working with kids on the streets. Then she left to go to law school because she had gone to college. I hadn't gone to college.
Right.
She became a lawyer, and years later, I got a law degree, and I was my first office was a table in her office.
Oh, you're serious? I didn't know this part. Okay.
Her brother sat at one end of the room. She sat in another room because her brother's a lawyer, her father was a lawyer,
Uh-huh.
and I sat at a table.
Oh, that's so funny. I love
And then
that.
after 6 months, I left and I moved out and I got an office somewhere. And then about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half later, I went and got a suite.
Okay.
And she moved in to one of the
Oh,
offices.
so you guys really did work together.
Yes,
Okay, very
and
cool.
we shared a secretary.
Yeah.
And then Ricky, my little brother,
Mhm.
he came to work for us as a law clerk. So he
Oh,
was running
nice.
around. Yeah, and then I
Okay.
left and came to Dallas.
I didn't realize that it was
And
that.
Candace
Okay.
became very well regarded, especially in the area of employment discrimination cases. So she was doing age and sex discrimination in the workplace.
But now she's done really.
And she
wow.
got R.R. Donnelly. For those of you who live in Chicago, you know how big R.R. Donnelly was. They were big, and she nailed them. And in the meantime, she undertook to do constitutional law. I
Mhm.
guess that's she undertook the representation of 2 men in Guantanamo.
This is amazing to me.
The what do you call it? Combat.
That's amazing. I can't believe that she was an attorney for two guys in
combatants.
Guantanamo Bay. That just
And in order to
fascinates
do
me.
that, the US government would not let you see your clients for years. She fought just to see them, to communicate with them. So she wrote for the HuffPost.
Mhm.
And so I pulled this up because, oh, wait, I didn't finish the story about death row
Yes,
stories.
yes, yes.
So I'm talking about Candace Day because I watched Death Row Stories last night. They did an episode about a case in Chicago that she handled. So this guy, when he was young, was an El Rukin. That's a big street gang.
Okay.
And he was
That's a weird
charged
name.
and convicted of murder
Okay.
and was put on death row. It was a double homicide. So you can get the death penalty for that. He lived on death row for at least 15 years and then wakes up one day and finds out that the co-defendant in his case had tried to bribe the judge, Judge Maloney. What a guy. So Judge Maloney gave back the bribe after the trial started and like wanted to pretend like there was no fixing. So
he gave back the bribe after he'd already
Yeah.
taken it.
So
I
that-
love that. Like,
yeah.
oh, wait, I didn't mean to take this. Excuse me. I'm going to give this back.
and that defense did not work.
You're kidding.
So it was 15 years later when all this came out
Wow.
and they realized, well, it was a bench trial. That means there was no jury. So they're like, how could it have been a fair
Yeah,
trial
was it?
if the judge was trying to demonstrate I didn't take a bribe?
Right.
Look, I convicted them. How
Right.
could I possibly have been
Right.
right? So they vacated his sentence and sent him back to Cook County Jail in Chicago to await a retrial, right?
Right.
Where he sat for 6 freaking years.
Yeah, not 6 months, 6
because
years.
they put $1 million bond on him.
Wow.
Meantime, his co-defendant is going to testify against him, and somebody got him out of jail finally. And another 6 years later, he went to trial, and the judge threw the case. This judge said, "This is completely
Right.
a setup."
Yeah.
Threw the case out. Now Candace comes into the situation at that point. She encourages him to sue. I don't know if she encouraged him or he came to, but anyways, to her and this
Right.
defendant decided to sue the city for his unlawful incarceration
Right.
for
6
20
years.
for- no,
Right?
15 on death row.
Oh, I was
Then when
thinking
he
the
left
6
death
prior to
row,
that.
6 more.
Okay, that's right.
23 years.
Oh my God.
21 years, something, right?
Oh my
So,
God.
so she and in the TV show, you'll see, watch it. It's in broad daylight, I think it's called. I mean, each episode has a name.
Right, right.
And I think this one was called In Broad Daylight or something. I should look it up. But so
That's
I'm watching this, and so the first half is this kind of eccentric lawyer, very skinny older guy now, but back
Mhm.
then he was much younger. He took the case while the guy was on death row, try and get him into trial.
Right,
And in the course of that, got him off at death row.
right.
And then some other lawyers got his case thrown out. Now, then Candace. So Candace, towards the last third of the show,
Hmm.
and she says, I told the guy, I know you want to see your street file. That was the name that they used for the notes that detectives took while they were out on the streets. They
Yeah.
did not go into
I didn't
the
know this till today.
It did not
so.
go into the standard police form. But at one time they wouldn't share it, and then it was
I don't
ruled.
understand how they
The
can't not
courts
have
met-
to share that.
The court's mandate they did have to
Yeah,
share it.
thank
It was
you.
discovery. And so the defense was
Because am
entitled to
I
sue.
wrong? Okay, for people who don't know this, you explained this earlier. It has other potential. Yes.
Yeah. So if your name's in there,
Right.
and
I
nobody's
might
told
be
me,
right.
and I'm the attorney for my guy, and I say, well, this Amy, she seems to
Right.
have a lot of motive here.
Right.
They didn't. I don't exactly.
Why didn't they
think
interview her?
Yeah, I don't
Why
think
didn't they
cleared
yeah,
her.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Suspects. It's full of other suspects.
so it's now 26 years since the murder,
Hmm.
and she says to him, I know you'd like to see street file. I just want you to know it doesn't exist anymore. It's 26 years later,
Right.
and she says, I came to eat my words because she served discovery in the city of Chicago, and they sent over a box of stuff, and her law clerk came to her an hour later and said, you better look at this. It was the street file.
Right.
And she couldn't believe that there was a street file in 1985.
Hmm.
So she started trying to track where was the street file all this time. She got a judge to order that she get to go to the police department. she found years and years, hundreds, maybe thousands of street files that had never been shared with defendants,
Exactly.
a lot of which had exculpatory evidence in it and information. And then they also show she deposed the detective O'Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
And they had that in the thing where he's sitting there, he's got a bottle of water, he's all cocky and everything. And she says he had a right to see that. Now, I don't know that he didn't see it, but what I'm saying is, even if he saw it,
Right.
there's nothing in there. He did it. So it doesn't matter. No matter what he saw or didn't see, he's guilty, So she sued the cop. She sued the city. On the first trial, she got only $80,000 from the cop.
Not the city.
Nothing from the city,
Right.
but she argued that there was a pattern of abuse by the city police department.
You mean all those hundreds or thousands of files they found down there that wasn't attached to anything, just stuck there? Might be a pattern.
So the federal judge gave her a new trial. I guess this time she actually brought in one of the file cabinets.
That is so awesome. I love this lady.
Okay.
I love this lady. She brought in one of the file cabinets that they had found with all the street files in it that had not been put in the cases and given to the cases of all these people.
So the city is of course contesting the $22 million verdict against the city for this kind of behavior. So of course the city doesn't want to pay that money. So they're fighting it. So this thing's been going on for freaking ever. So she sent a thing to HuffPost back when she had Guantanamo. I was just Googling her because, I called her today and said, what a great little thing. And I knew about the case and I knew all kinds of elements of it because at the time in Chicago, because the guy that testified against him also testified that he murdered 15 people.
Right.
His co-defendant who said Nathanson killed this guy testified pursuant to his deal that he had committed 15 homicides.
Well, that's somebody you want to trust in court.
So
to lock somebody else up.
After he testified at the one of these trials that Candace was doing, he said he had no deal with the government. He had 12 more years to serve. And Candace, while she filed for a new trial.
Mm-hmm.
The 80,000 is not enough. It's not right.
Right. That's bullshit.
Somebody calls up and says, Hawkins is out in the street. And she's like, he had 12 years to do. It's only 6 weeks or something, right? So she tracks it down. The guy's been cut loose. So he did have a deal and they lied about it. So the judge ordered a new trial and she won. Captive Flower. So she had a client whose name I can't pronounce.
Nope.
Gizawi.
That's pretty good.
She's saying
Al Ghazawi.
Al Ghazawi, right? So I'm going to try to read some of this. She says that he sent her a flower during one of our visits about a flower. He told me about a flower that was outside his cage at Guantanamo, just sticking out of this.
Yeah, it was growing out in the desert.
Yeah,
I mean that is odd.
So that's the lead in, and she goes on to say, all the many years of my last semester at the University of Wisconsin, which is in Madison, which is a 90-minute drive from Chicago. She said, I finally took that science class I needed to graduate, Plants and Man. In addition to learning some fine things like how to make wine and beer, we learned about the importance of our connection with nature for our psychological well-being. And she talks more about it. She wrote a thing on flower power.
Right.
Who's that?
Well, wasn't that her thesis or something in one of her classes?
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was how flowers were used as symbols throughout history.
On a symbol of peace.
Yes.
Right.
It was a good. Yeah.
And
I like it.
She says, I ultimately became a lawyer and later still took on the representation of this man in Guantanamo. My client told me during one of our visits about a flower that was outside his cage at Guantanamo, just sticking there out of the desert.
Out of the desert.
And she said it brought him pleasure just to think about the flowers.
Right.
Plus the synergy of nature and human emotional well-being. He called it a primrose and ended by saying, it didn't belong there and I don't belong here. And she says he was right on both accounts. Many years have gone by and he still sits in a hellhole we call Guantanamo. He is no longer in that cage. Now he sits in solitary confinement where he's been in total isolation for more than 2 years. There are no flowers in this terrain of metal and plastic. I like that description.
Yep.
Right? Al Ghazawi, only connection with nature is a possible 2-hour period in a metal cage in the hot Guantanamo sun, surrounded by a concrete building and sand. She's been there. No flowers or trees. She said,
So why is he in complete solitaire? Do they not let them ever?
They're screwing them over major.
But,
They've been from day one. Guantanamo has been a cluster effing. Okay?
So he has no contact with anyone?
They're dangerous, even though they're not dangerous.
Wow.
They couldn't.
Well, they let dangerous criminals in our prisons. Okay.
She said last week, she wrote this in 2009. Last week, I received an email from the privilege team, the ones that read the attorney-client mail. The email informed me that Al Ghazawi sent me a picture, and on the back of the picture, there was a note stating that the picture was his gift to me. The privilege team decided that the note was personal.
This is crazy.
This is interesting.
This is crazy.
And that Al Ghazawi violated the rules by sending the picture through legal mail. They informed me that I would have to send the picture back to him.
There's no, I mean, like, how do they make up this shit?
I would have to send the picture back to him through legal mail. They informed me I would then have to have him send me the picture, resend the picture through non-legal mail. And she says in parentheses, really, I cannot make this shit up.
I mean, that's just, I mean.
She's not sure how he even came to possess this picture. And she assumes the Red Cross had given it to him. And she writes more about it. But anyways, I don't want the whole show to be consumed, but this was in the Huffington Post.
Right. And the picture was actually of, she actually thought it was going to be of him, and it wasn't. It was a picture of flowers. Yes, of a field of flowers. And he had written a little note to her on the back. And I mean,
so kudos to the lawyers that struggle.
Yeah.
There's more on Huffington Post. She has a blog, and there was a lot more about this whole Guantanamo thing. I was telling AJ before the show that Candace told me one time she went to visit her client in Cuba, and she couldn't get in. They wouldn't let her in. And so she came back to the judge, and she's like, they didn't let me in. And she said, the government said, oh, they didn't let her in because her real purpose in Cuba was to bird watch. And if you know Candace, that's pretty absurd that she would go to Cuba to bird watch. So she's just like, they just
make up stuff to keep people
and everything
out. Yeah. And right here, I have Nicholas saying some people have spent decades in solitude in Guantanamo.
Well, not just all over this country.
This is crazy.
It's considered, by the way, I think under the Geneva Convention, extensive solitary is not
well, I mean,
violates the Geneva
I couldn't
Convention.
do that. I would go crazy.
Well, people do go crazy.
Well, yeah, no, I would.
Yeah.
I would hope I would,
Yeah,
because if I didn't go crazy, how was I going to make it?
And then after a while, we release them back into society.
Yeah. Once they're crazy. Yay.
Yeah, those are people you want to hang with.
Is that what happened to you, baby?
Man, I was a prisoner in my own mind.
Yeah, me too.
So the she also said on the show last night, she said, I want everybody out there to understand the city of Chicago will go to any lengths not to have the truth of these police files come out.
Right.
They'll go to any lengths.
Well, I believe they were told not to include them in the case, and they were just being put off into a room all by themselves. I mean, that's obviously, to me, that's what was happening. They didn't want anybody to see these other suspects.
So when she was telling me about his co-defendant testifying against him, I said, reminds me of all these cases with jailhouse snitches.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I had talked on our show.
A lot.
Once,
I mean, a lot of these cases that people
a lot of them, right?
have been convicted on is based on these jailhouse snitches. And it just always has baffled me.
They won't talk to the cops, but put them in a cell. They'll talk to their cellie.
Yeah.
And then the cellie comes and testifies.
Last person I'm going to talk to is some jackwad in jail.
So she said, Illinois passed the law in this regard. I said, no, I didn't. So I looked it up. So I want to share with you this information.
Yes, I find this great.
And the article I pulled, there were a number, but I got the one where the Illinois legislature overruled the governor's veto, the last governor, Republican governor, who vetoed a law that was restricting the use of jailhouse snitches in a certain fashion. And I want to tell you. So, in order to override a veto, they had to really be on this. So there are a few states, it says in the article, that are passing these kinds of laws, but they believe, the people who wrote the article believe that Illinois is probably the toughest one, and it requires some stuff. The legislative history because we've talked about legislative history, was to promote transparency, right? And if you're going to use these inmates, what is going on? What is the exchange?
Exactly.
They usually bring him in and they say, no, I'm just doing it because I want the truth to come out. And you're sitting there going, you snake.
Well, I mean, they get up there and then they say that sometimes the other attorney doesn't even ask, well, have you been given a lesser sentence?
Well, you'd have to be a pretty stupid attorney.
Well, I mean, it's like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't understand.
So they were getting away with it. So here you go. Turns out that some of this, they found out there were a group of snitches in
oh yeah, this is my favorite.
in California.
Yeah.
And they had made over $300,000 snitching on people over a 4-year period.
And it was on one well-publicized case.
That's how it
2
came out.
informants made over $300,000 for being a jailhouse snitch.
Okay.
That's enough reason to go to jail just to be a jailhouse snitch. Make them out 5 years later, make $300,000.
The Illinois statute will require prosecutors to disclose their planned use of a jailhouse informant at least 30 days before trial. And why you have to disclose all your witnesses before trial.
Yeah, but they were waiting to the very last minute
because
to tell
they would say, "Oh,
we just found out."
Just found out, right?
Right.
I've had this case, and in the past, prosecutors have been known to disclose their planned use of witnesses just days before the trial. Of course, leaving us defense lawyers with no time to investigate. But I'm on it.
Yeah.
When I get a jailhouse snitch, I'm on the dude like white on rice. Okay.
I think it's going to hurt their case more if they have a jailhouse snitch and it's obvious that he's lying or he's getting lesser sentence. I think if they're not going to believe, the jury.
How's it obvious to the
because they're going to find out that he got a lesser sentence.
No,
they're going to lie.
Going to find out.
They're going to lie when they're on this. I mean,
nowadays
it has to be revealed.
They were supposed to reveal it then,
but weren't. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, but now they have to.
So under the law, prosecutors will have to tell defense lawyers what benefits they plan to give the informant in exchange, and they will need to disclose in this informant any other cases in which this person testified.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Right.
So
if there's 20 cases, they're going to know that.
So are you getting a lighter sentence? No, I'm not getting a lighter sentence. But he may be doing time. He may be moving to a prison he wants to be moved to. He may be
better cell, getting a roommate he wants, a cellmate he wants. Right.
Okay. Prosecutors will then have to prove to a judge in a hearing that the witness's testimony is reliable and admissible. That's big.
How are you going to prove that somebody who is in prison for that period of time, which is probably a pretty bad crime, is telling the truth? There is no way to prove that.
Well, I'm telling you that Candace says that this co-defendant testified against this guy and said there were no favors rendered. The government said, no.
And then, thank God she followed up.
Somebody saw him on the street and called her.
Thank God.
And said, hey, Huggins is out
on the street. Well, from now on, all attorneys need to be following up to make sure that what they're saying in court is true.
So she got online. She looked it up. She saw the guy had been paroled 12 years earlier. And admitted murder. So here's the thing.
Well, why would they want somebody going to jail that didn't do the crime? Why are they making all this up just to get somebody in jail who didn't do the crime? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I don't get it.
So there is apparently a national registry of exonerations. Jailhouse informants, just in this database, have played a role in 156 proven cases of wrongful conviction. In Illinois, jailhouse informants were involved in 17 wrongful convictions.
Wrongful convictions.
And that's just what we know. So
Right.
the exonerations in
Exactly.
large measure were coming from DNA. So somebody says, yeah, he said he raped that girl.
Right.
And they got some, they didn't test DNA in those days. And then now they're finally, so a lot of these exonerations are only because there is scientific. In this case, if this guy was on death row 15 years, he planned on dying.
Right.
He
Right.
talks about, he starts crying. He says, I knew they may be sending me back to death row after they
Sure.
vacate his commission. He said, the days you spend there with guys walking past you their last walk.
Right. Right.
He talked
That,
about
I can't even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
crazy.
So
But
I-
now he's been awarded $22 million. Now it's being,
22 million.
it's being.
Hopefully someday
he'll
he'll
get
collect some of
something.
it. Yeah, because right now he's living. He looks to be about 50 years old. He's working with a group that is working to end the death penalty. Although I thought they ended in Illinois, so maybe it's a national organization.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
he seemed like a really. His daughter was born the year he went into prison,
Oh wow.
and he said 18 years later he's on the street,
Right.
and he saw across the street, and he said, "That's my daughter." And he said, "I called out her name. It was
Right.
downtown Chicago. You got
Sure.
to yell this to be heard." And he said she looked over him. He said, "I just knew. I knew. I hadn't seen her in all these years."
Okay, that gave me goosebumps.
And he said it was
New
her.
group, yeah.
And he said we cried and we said we love each other.
Oh.
So
Oh, now you got me all choked up.
isn't that
with
something?
goosebumps.
Well, these stories. It's hard not to have a story like that doesn't have an element of sentimentality to
Wow.
it, right?
Wow,
What
yeah.
about the people? There was a guy in Texas. He was executed for arson
Mm-hmm.
and was exonerated after he was killed.
Right.
He had a family.
Right.
Imagine that. This guy at least was alive, and during the filming of this episode, he was sitting with his sister,
Right.
and his sister said, "I only wish my mother
Oh
had
yeah.
lived to see this.
Right.
She was there when they sentenced him to death,
Right.
but she wasn't here to see him
Right.
exonerated."
Yes, she was. I believe she was.
Well, and that's what
Yeah.
the sister said.
Yes.
I know she knows.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are you thinking? What do you got, people?
Oh, I had people say some people have spent decades in solitude, and he says he think the longest time is over 40 years in
Yeah,
solitude.
you gotta be real screwy after that. I mean,
I don't know.
if you leave AJ alone in a room for a
day,
day,
I'm
yeah,
screwy.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
like,
I had to go get an office out of the house because I couldn't be at home.
so
I had to be around civilization.
I was with a group of people. Maybe it was a 12-step recovery meeting. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
And I said, meditation has given me the gift of being alone with myself.
Right. Absolutely.
Because the demons, the voices in my head, I always had to be distracted. Now, I don't know if Lori's still with us, said that she was here she may be gone. I don't know if you're here, you could say, hey. Well, she would go to bed reading a book or a magazine.
Yes.
And watching TV.
Oh.
So she fell asleep.
Yeah, no. I meditate. I do meditate.
Well, no, but
every
you know
day
what?
in the morning.
That's pretty common.
Oh no, I think that's what most Americans do.
And now I do it.
Oh no, I don't do that. I go to bed. I don't. My bedroom doesn't have TV in it.
Oh my God, I would go crazy if I didn't have it.
Mm-mm. I read. I usually read Yogananda books and things like that. Yeah, and then I fall asleep.
When I
Like
lived in a
that.
monster, I read Buddhist literature. Every
Yeah,
night 'cause
I read my Yogananda books
we
every
had
night.
no TV.
Yogananda.
Then I found out that all the Thai monks had laptops. So I got a laptop brought over
Oh my
from home.
God.
But I couldn't really use a laptop because, as I explained to you once before, this
They
building.
didn't have internet, did they?
Yeah, we
Oh
had
my
internet.
lordy.
Yeah, we had a computer in the community room, and you really need one in
Yeah.
modern times.
Nice.
So when I ordained, I lived in a room in the back of the building.
Ken is a reform. What are you again?
I'm
Ken-
a piece of work.
That is a Buddha, an ordained Buddhist monk. Those of you
Was.
who do not know. Once.
So you have a modem.
Yes,
And the
modem.
modem has to push the signal, right?
Yes.
But I was on the other side. We had 12-inch thick walls because this was a old Adobe building
Yeah.
in Tucson. and these don't go through the
No,
no.
no.
So, so I'd be in my room trying to watch something and no internet.
So
no-
Buddha took care of it for you so
Yeah.
that you were having to concentrate more on yourself and go inward instead of
if y'all haven't heard the
Mhm.
story, so while I'm living in this monastery, I'm the only Anglo. There's not a lot of English being spoken, even though it was in America, and you know, I'm used to engaging,
right.
right? And so
Exactly.
I asked the abbot one day. I said, you know, where's everybody? Where did everybody go? Where's the other monks? Because there are 3 monks,
Right.
and he just
He's,
like,
he probably was thinking they were trying to get away from you.
no. They liked me, but he said,
You
know,
were a lot rather
they're-
difficult to
They're
deal
in their
with.
rooms because they're used to being alone. They're
Right.
used to, they don't chatter. They've been, so probably they were all in their 30s, except for the abbot who was in his 40s.
Mhm.
They had all entered monasteries as teenagers.
Right.
So by the time I met them, they were, as the abbot said, they don't chat.
Right.
They don't chatter.
Right. Right.
And there's the
So I was right. They were trying to get away from Ken's chatting. They were hiding in their rooms. The poor Buddhist monks were running from Ken.
Listen,
They loved you though.
when they say bull in a china shop, okay, I grant you that. So I studied Buddhism for 2 years before I went in.
Sure.
But what I didn't study, and I don't know that I
Or
could have,
practice.
was the culture,
Mm.
the culture of monastics and the culture of Thailand,
Mhm.
because they're enmeshed.
Okay.
So you are living in the United States, but you're living in a foreign land.
Correct.
You're living in Thailand,
Mhm.
and there was a whole lot of cultural issues. And so imagine I'm 10 years older than the oldest monk.
Right.
I'm a lawyer. I'm a householder. That's what they call somebody who's married.
With anger issues.
And I'm walking around. I might as well wearing clown shoes,
Right.
flopping around. I might as well have had a red nose on, because that's what happens when
I
you,
give credit to those monks for putting up with you and
No,
loving you.
I was a delight. I
oh my
was a
God.
delight.
He almost got in a fight in his what's it called, your robe, in the shopping center. He almost gets in a fist fight, and the poor monks have to stop you. Those poor monks are they're saints in the Catholic Church. Those monks should be saints.
I was defending the monks.
I understand, but that's not how they wanted to be defended.
And then we had a gun. We were hiking one day. Me.
Did you have your gun on you?
No. We were in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy would come around the temple. He was half Thai, and I didn't like him. He's the one I almost had the fight with.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I didn't like him, and we used to go hiking all the time. The abbot and I would go every Monday. We took a hike, and this guy said, "Oh, I want you to go hiking out in Vail, Arizona, with me. I own 40 acres up there, so I don't want to do this, but the abbot." So it's 5 o'clock in the morning. You got to go real early.
Yeah.
And the guys just showed up, and I'm like, listen, you ain't here. Let's blow him off and let's go do something. Let's go hike. Nah, let's give him. He shows up. I drive my truck out to Vail, dirt road, 1-lane dirt road.
Okay.
Just leave your truck.
How many
here.
monks are with you?
Just one.
Okay.
Okay. So park my truck. He says, "Oh, just leave it here. This is my property." So we get out. We get out.
I'm surprised you did.
And well, I don't know. I'm a city boy. We're walking up this road, and so I say, "So what's up here? I got a house up there, And I'm like, "Is it empty? Is there somebody there?" He said, "Oh, there's a tenant." And I'm like, "Well, does he know we're coming? Because I don't want anybody pulling a gun on us,
Right.
because we startled. Don't worry about it." So a few minutes later, the sun's coming up over the mountains, so you get that glare.
Right.
And I think I see a guy crouched with a rifle.
No.
So we keep walking.
And now, are you in your robes?
Yeah.
So there's two monks, you
Yes.
one of them, and then this other dude.
Yeah. So this guy, we walk up, we come up alongside him. He's crouched behind a rock.
Oh my
He's a
God.
hunter. He's a hunter. It's November. It's hunting season.
Right.
And he looks at us and I say, "Hi, how you doing?" He said, I was doing fine until you assholes came along. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what happened? He said, I've been here since 4 a.m. You just chased everything off the mountain, you loudmouths.
Oh, that is hilarious.
So this guy with us, he says, get off my land.
Right.
The guy stands up with the rifle. Your land? Who are you, you son of a, And I'm like, what is going on? He says, well, this is my land. He said, yeah. He said, I've been living in this area for 20 years. Who are you? He says, where'd you get this land from? He mentions the guy's name. He said, yeah. He owned property here, 10 acres. You don't own a 40 acres and you ain't on them.
Oh, that's wow. Did you turn around and get back in your car?
So I said, are we going to get shot up here?
Did you say that to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And he said, I'm not going to shoot you, but I don't know who else is here, So Ajahn, the abbot, said, let's just go on. And, we went up to this house and it was locked. There's no tenant, and the abbot says, I don't have a good feeling about this. I said, I have a bad feeling about it, right? And I said to the guy, I said to the hunter, I said, I left my truck on the road down there.
Right.
I said, is that okay? He said, it's okay if nobody comes by. He said, if somebody comes by, they'll probably just push it out of the way. They'll just push it with their truck. And I'm like, well, I don't really want that to happen. It's in park, that won't be good. So I say goodbye. I'm gone. I bolt down the mountain.
Well, where's the abbot? You left him?
I left him with this
Why?
guy because you want to go? In a minute. Yeah, I tell you what, I'll see you down there, but the truck. I went down the truck and the hunter was down there with some friends, his son and another guy. So I went up to him. I said, I'm really sorry about all this. He said, you're all right. He said, listen, you should feel free to hike up here, but it's hunting season.
It's not a good time to go.
It's not a good time. And he said, you're all right, but that son of a bitch that told me to get off his land, he said, now that's a problem.
Right.
I said, listen, I don't like the guy, So the monk is like, I can't believe I almost get shot. And I'm like, yeah, because they won't find you. We were in the middle of nowhere. The bodies would have been decomposed.
Ken has them shot and decomposing.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I would have been thinking that way too.
So
they would have found the robes.
So yeah.
What color is that? Saffron?
And the monk is saying, we go back and we tell everybody,
not listen to the guy.
How we had this encounter with this hunter on the rifle. And I said, it's much funnier than that story is the story he's telling his friends. Guess what? I was out hunting and some Buddhist.
Oh, that is a story he will be telling to the day he dies. I'm hunting. I'm like all excited. I'm hunched. I'm being all quiet. And then these 2 Buddhist monks walk by.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
No, that's crazy.
This is Vail.
He probably was like, what the hell is going on? And then one of them's you.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of American Buddhists.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So anyways, I see Ernie and Karen and Ginny and Lori and Hillary and Cara joined at one time Randall, but I don't know if any of them stayed.
What was that last article?
Which one?
I don't know.
A couple more.
Yeah, well, what are you doing?
Well, I didn't know which one you want. I got 3.
Let's go with that
What's
one.
behind door number 3? All right.
Okay.
I'm all worn out. Sure.
Well, remember the week before, we talked about them in New York allowing illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses.
We talked about that?
Yes. And I said I wasn't happy about that because, first of all, I think that they're going to just get them in the system. Okay. And they're going to use it for to find them, to deport them. And I was like, I don't know. If you've been here for 30, 40 years, this is the only country you know, and you're here undocumented, I'm not going to go get a driver's license. Would you go get a driver's license? I'm not going to go get a legal driver's license. But now these states are doing exactly that. They're using facial recognition to go through the driver's license photos to find undocumented people. I think that's terrible.
By the way, I'm listening. I'm just so worn out. No, so that's crazy.
Well, it's just
because first off, they're scanning the system. They're not pulling up Billy Sanchez's ID. They're scanning through the pictures to see if the facial recognition picks up somebody that they've already got some sort of ID on, right? That's the point of it.
I understand.
So they have to go through your picture and
they're going through everybody's pictures.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But this is what I'm talking about, oh, yay, New York's giving that sounds like such a great, people who, want to help the undocumented people who have been here for so long and don't, help them. That's not helping them by allowing them to get driver's licenses because they're doing this. That's just my opinion. There you go.
Well, and then the Washington Post or somebody did an article. Well, maybe this is the article. The FBI's been mining it too.
That's ICE that's what the whole thing
and
is.
The FBI. No, that one is ICE.
Oh, that was ICE. But it's talked about the FBI in there also. And they're scanning the databases. And how do you feel about them scanning the databases?
Oh, look at Rosie was the only one that went to our YouTube channel.
Would you please, how do you feel about them scanning the databases and using our private information?
I'm not a big Law and Order guy. Mm-hmm. That's why the name of the show is called Law and
Disorder.
Because I'm just not that big on police activity. I think that on the one hand, certain activities of the police should be revered and respected. Mm-hmm. As if a man does his job as a police officer and does it with integrity, he should be treated with the greatest of respect.
Absolutely.
He should be paid well.
Mm-hmm.
He should be treated well.
Right, I agree. 100%.
The problem is that we have so many bad cops.
Yes.
That it's hard to hold up any police officers. I don't know when we started, back. There was a time when cops had some respect, right? And then it began to get all bad.
Well, the problem is all the bad cops get all this recognition because of all our, instant social media and instant news coverage that, right? And everything. They do, but the problem is that's affecting all the good cops.
So when we were in a homogenous society instead of heterogeneous, I think those are right terms. In a homogenous society, when an Irish cop was policing an Irish neighborhood, not that big a problem.
Right.
Except the problem, as I used to say, so they come across Father Flanagan and he's just murdered somebody, right?
Right.
He's standing there, the gun is smoking, the guy is
bleeding. I was going to say that's sort
Here
of a problem.
An Irish cop and he goes, Father Flanagan, now go home with yourself. Right. Give me the gun.
That's
and
pretty
don't
good.
Let me kick you out.
Yeah, when you said that the Irish cops policing the Irish neighborhood, no, that's not good. They're going to not really enforce it for their friends and family,
right.
And especially for the Catholic religion and the churches, hence all the stuff that happened.
But now you take that same ethnic cop, you put him into another ethnic community where he doesn't feel a bond,
mm-hmm.
and if he feels disrespected, whatever. So he starts creating his own rules. This police officer that was interviewed by Candace on the show Death Row Stories, O'Callaghan, there's one of two possibilities when he said that this guy was absolutely guilty,
right?
Irrefutable. Didn't matter whether he saw the evidence or not, couldn't have won the case. You're sitting there and you're thinking, I think he's just a pig.
Okay.
I think the guy's just a lying pig.
Okay.
Maybe he believes himself.
Oh, I think they do believe themselves. A lot of times.
It's hard to, yeah, maybe. But every murder case I ever did where the guy was not guilty, mm-hmm. the cops acted with such certainty and would not open the blinders to any evidence to the contrary.
Correct.
They would ignore evidence that you're like, I don't understand.
Well, that's been proven.
I did a murder case where a guy said, I'm going to come back and kill you. And I got two witnesses said the guy came back and killed him. But instead, they arrest my client.
Right.
Who didn't know the guy, had no beef with them, but they're sure he fired 9 shots at him. And I'm like, but why wouldn't you have investigated
the other guy,
this gang kid,
right?
Who an hour earlier was having a verbal altercation and said,
what was their answer to that?
Oh, they don't talk to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that in the street file?
I don't know what, I don't even know what a street file looks like. I don't know if I got street files. So let's do this one last story before we go,
One last story.
because I did this myself.
Oh,
So in Scottsdale, Arizona, they have these electric scooters.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you why. I did
Okay.
it. So this guy formed a company. He actually
I
went,
think it was a genius idea.
he
He just skipped a step.
incorporated, and he decided that he was entitled to go around and impound electric scooters that were parked illegally, were in places for too long, because there was a city statute that said if it was abandoned for 3 days, they could be written a ticket. If it was blocking or it was someplace where pedestrians walk, there was a variety of rules, but he didn't feel anybody was enforcing them. So he created his own impounding
Mhm.
company, and he went and he
Which-
started impounding.
Which was
them.
good, but he skipped the middle step. He needed to get a permit from the city to
No,
impound.
there was no permit. The city wasn't allowing any private parties.
But
to
they
do
tow
it.
cars.
They talked about.
But they tow
this.
cars.
Yeah, but they don't. They didn't make a. There's a rule that, I mean, there's statutes that allow, municipal codes that allow you to tow a car. They didn't create a municipal code that included towing these.
so
bikes.
then he'd have to have everything changed to get
hey,
some kind
hey,
of.
Robert A. Ray Dean. So I was bicycling 3 days ago,
Oh, I hate those scooter things.
and I went
They need
down
to
to
go.
Mockingbird Station.
Yeah.
And if you want to go to Buddha Juice,
Yeah.
you have to go down this ramp,
hmm
and it's a narrow ramp. And there was a scooter parked across the ramp.
Yep.
There was no.
It's ludicrous. I hate those things.
So
They're all
I-
over downtown Dallas.
I was hot, I was tired, and I wanted some fresh juice.
Mhm.
So I relocated
Where was it? In the sewer?
electric scooter. No, I mean, I just tossed it
Okay.
off to the side. It bounced a little bit and it made this noise. I guess it's got a anti-tow thing, in case.
I don't know. I know the
meep,
kids
meep,
steal the
meep,
bikes and
meep.
steal the scooters by putting them in the lake and hold
Well,
them down, and then they could steal them.
Normally,
So I don't know.
normally I leave these abandoned rental bikes alone for a long time in Tucson, Dallas, rather. We had a lot of these rental bicycles, not the electric ones, everywhere,
Right.
especially one.
No, I
right
know.
on
The
the
scooters right
trail,
now are the same thing.
and they were a problem. Now there's less of those, but the electric scooters are really gaining prominence
It's
around
ludicrous.
downtown.
So when I was in
deep down.
downtown, the scooters aren't going like they're supposed to in the crosswalks. The scooters are going in the middle of downtown, kitty corner, from corner to corner, and avoiding the stop. They're not even going with it's ridiculous. And one girl got out in front and fell right over in front of me on the scooter.
I saw these two
It's a-
kids on the bike
They need
trail,
to get rid of those scooters.
and they were coming down. There's a slope on the
Yeah.
Santa Fe Trail, and she was in a summer dress. Or what do you call it?
Yeah. A sundress.
Sundress, and he was wearing shorts, maybe flip flops.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if you go down,
You're gonna hurt.
you're gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Those little wheels.
Yeah, I know.
But they seem to, they're
Well,
young.
I just can't believe that they're going kitty corner across a downtown street when I'm just like, are you?
I used to say
friggin'
I'll make
kidding
you a
me?
hood ornament.
Oh, I like that one.
So
Well, I almost made accidentally that girl.
okay.
She went
Uh,
right in front of me.
we got Craig checked in. He'd
Ma-
say, Jesus, Mary, Joseph. Jesus, Mary, Joseph. Father Flanagan. Give me the gun and go home. And don't let me see you out here anymore.
That sounds like the priest that I grew up with.
Father Flanagan, you don't be
Yes.
doing this anymore.
Yes.
And we have Sebastian, who's overseas, by the way.
Oh,
He
funny.
said, great show.
Awesome.
I didn't notice Scroll.
Scroll.
Well, you guys, they are from London. I don't know who they are, but Sebastian, I think, is in London.
Oh,
Isn't that
okay.
interesting? We
That is
actually have
interesting.
somebody in London
I
watching
love
us. We're
that.
international here.
They must really be bored.
We rolling with, we rolling with the big dogs.
They're in London and watching us. What is their problem? Can we go visit?
So it's time to begin to wrap up the show.
Yes, it
Hunter
is.
joined us last minute. Robert's a cool guy. I'm surprised Robert found us. I hope he stayed with us.
Awesome.
Robert is out in Fort Worth,
Okay.
and he knows all about bad cops. So many of my friends know about
I
bad
know
cops.
good cops too.
I know good cops too, but
The bad cops get
You
the
know-
publicity.
well, and wait, let me say something else. I have said on the show since 2002, 2003, I have maintained you can't be a good cop if you're silent to the bad cop.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Well,
Okay, so
I mean,
you may be
yeah.
doing your job with
Mhm.
integrity, but if you're
Isn't that called a
not,
bystander? Not, in,
oh, and
Mhm.
Candace brought this up during the deposition. She said, "Do you know what the code of silence is?" And she said every officer that she interviewed
Right.
for the case, all the detectives said they had never heard of a code of silence.
Oh yeah, right.
And she
Even the
showed them
civilians know what that
she
is.
did discovery and was able to show that they had attended a workshop and had been signed in as having completed a workshop on that type of subject.
Oh my
They had never
God!
heard.
But they had never heard of it.
They'll just lie. They just lie.
Oh my God! That's
And then,
crazy.
let me finish up by saying there was the case in Chicago just a few months ago where I forget 3, 4, or 5 officers were charged with obstructing justice because their police report matched the shooting,
Okay.
but the shooting didn't match the camera when the camera was released 2 years later. They all said what the shooter said, that, oh, he was coming at me with a knife and I
Yeah.
was in fear of my life. So I shot him 16 times, Laquan McDonald.
16.
Jason Van Dyke was a police officer. So they went back and they looked at everybody's report on, a number of officers had all, kind of signed off on this story. They wrote
Sure.
it in their reports, and they had officers that said, they tried to make me change my report. And, and this one woman was called a rat, a police lady who was
Right.
called a rat, for trying to
Do the right thing.
do the right thing. So
I watched that. Was it on TV? There was one on TV that I watched. It called Whistleblower One or something like that. That was on that.
Well, certainly
Something
a
very
couple of
similar.
them.
Yeah, there was very
Yeah.
similar.
So the thing is that to be a good cop, you've got to stop the bad cops.
Correct.
Just like you and I.
Well, it's same with bullying. It's called it. They tell you in schools. They tell the kids in schools, don't be a bystander. Stop the bully. Do something. Tell someone. And the cops are doing the same thing. They're bullying and just standing by. Okay.
Yeah. So the
same
job,
thing.
on the police car in Chicago, I don't know where elsewhere, to serve and protect. And I used to teach police academy in Dallas, and I said, you're there to keep the peace. If you go in and lose your cool,
Right.
oh, he called me names. Sure.
Right.
If you accelerate
I'm sorry.
the
Bless me.
situation,
Yes.
if you're an accelerant,
No, yeah, that's why I
you're
could
the
never be a
gasoline
cop.
on the fire. I said, no matter how poorly you are treated,
Yes.
you have to maintain your cool because you're the only semblance of
Right.
sanity that's being imposed.
Yeah,
on the
and there's no.
situation.
That's why. And but that's also a. That's when you have to learn the culture, because like if you go into Oak Cliff and these people are doing certain things, then and you don't understand what they're doing, you're going to think they're disrespecting you when sometimes they're not. So I think that's a lot of times understanding the culture of where you come from. I mean, of where you're going into.
We all saw that video 2 weeks ago where the Phoenix cops from Maricopa County, where the one was holding the baby had
Yes.
walked out with a doll,
Yes.
and they wanted to arrest them.
Yes, that
And
was awful.
He's saying, follow my command. I'm going to shoot you.
Right.
I'm going to shoot you.
Why?
Bitch.
But why was he going to shoot her?
Because she wasn't following his instructions.
Oh my God.
And she's like, I'm holding the baby. And he's like, put the baby down.
Where am I going to put the baby?
And people were saying, be cool, be cool. They were yelling at the cop, be cool.
Right.
And they were a bunch of them with
I
guns
think that's bullshit.
pointed, and there was
that's bullshit.
nobody was showing any weapon. It was
the whole thing was bullshit.
They were
I saw it.
accused of stealing
I
a
know.
doll.
Well, and yeah.
So
I don't think the woman purposely stole the doll. I don't think she was paying any attention to the child. And, which, yeah.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. Well, no. Okay. We don't
I
know.
think the boyfriend was accused of stealing some socks.
Oh, well, no. That's
So
a
they
different
may have
scenario.
they may have all
You
that
know what?
story.
It's okay to pull a gun then if he was stealing.
All right. A big shout out to Camaro, wherever you are. Big shout out to Attorney Candace Gorman for doing the right thing.
Yes,
I wish
amazing woman.
I wish I
Loved
had that
him.
much integrity and energy.
Amazing.
And tenacity. She's called on me to do some stuff, and I'll help her with investigations. I'll go out in the inner city. I'll interview the crazies. But I'm gonna tell you something. I don't have what it takes to go up against a wall of documents
Yeah, I
and
know.
paper and
Yeah, no.
stonewalling by a city corporate
Amazing
counsel's
to me.
office.
She's amazing.
So,
Very awesome.
all right. So you can find
Okay.
us. Well, you tell them. Where to find
Okay, we can find us on Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder website, which is law-disorder.com.
.com.
Yes, and you can find us on Facebook, Law and Disorder, Ken Goldberg's. And you can find Ken on his site and me, Amy Jo Kroll, AJ. You can find me, Dallas Yoga Magazine, Cosmic Yogi Festival. We are now taking vendors. Woo-woo. What are you going to do this year for the festival? You got to think of something fun. All right, so we have the Cosmic Yogi Festival coming up in November. Yours was one of the most popular ones. So we're going to, I don't know, let's see if you're doing something next time or this time or what we're
I
doing.
think that the people in mine were waiting for yoga.
I know. Ken goes in to teach his friggin' Buddhist meditation, traditional Buddhist meditation. The class is all in there waiting for him. And Ken thinks that, well, there's too many people in there for me. I don't understand why they're in there. I'm waiting for them to leave. And it was like friggin' 5-10 minutes late, certain class, because he's out in the hallway. And then somebody.
I was in the back of the room.
Oh my God, Ken's a mess.
I was
Anyway.
waiting for them to finish up.
Anyway, we'll figure out something. Maybe you can do the show from there or something. I don't know.
My
We'll
daughters
out
went
something.
to your yogi festival.
I know,
and
they had
did
fun.
The aerial
I know, it's cool, isn't
aerial
it?
yoga.
Next time they got to
And
try to
goat
go.
yoga.
Oh, I was going to say that. Well, next time they have puppy Pilates. They need to do puppy Pilates. And the puppies are up for adoption. So anyway, DallasYogaMagazine.com, Cosmic Yogi Festival. Yay.
And Wednesday night, did you tell them about
Wednesday night. Ken teaches the traditional Buddhist meditation at the Buddhist Meditation Center on Stoltz Road, which is at like Forest and Greenville area. It's an amazing Buddhist temple. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Everyone is welcome because it is friggin' amazing if you've never seen anything like it. And Ken's meditation is also incredible. So 7 p.m. Wednesday evening at the Buddhist Meditation Center on Stoltz Road with Ken. And next Tuesday.
I think I'm going to shave my face, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at your camera because it's right up in my face.
Yeah.
I got this big patch of white in the middle of my face.
Well, if you don't like it, what about just a soul patch?
So no.
It's a happy patch.
So
it's a happy patch.
Did you scroll? You looks like you didn't scroll there.
No, I did. I just was scrolling up so I could see everybody.
Oh, okay. So I was going to tell you, I ride my bicycle a lot.
Yes.
Be nice if I lose weight, but that's another subject.
Should we go to Weight Watchers together and lose weight? Because we'll lose weight if we go to Weight Watchers together.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
So
I think we need
I see all these old guys because when I ride, that's who's riding, right?
Yeah.
You got to not have a job.
Right.
And I'm thinking, how do you know they're old guys? Well, because they all have white beards.
Oh.
So that's how you know. So I came home and I shaved one day, and I was clean shaven for months.
And
For months.
And then what? It's summer. You shouldn't have anything on your face during the summer anyway.
I don't know why I started.
Isn't it hotter
doing
than during the summer?
So now when people bicycle past me, they think, oh,
there's another old guy.
That's not the way I want to be known. Right,
okay, see you next Tuesday, 6:00, right here. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
It takes a while for me to